Good afternoon, my friends, and welcome to Monday's edition of Take 5 to Recharge, potentially the best 5 minutes of your day. This is the Love Language edition, and I'm your host, Pastor Bala. I hope you're having a good day, and by the time we finish, I pray you will be encouraged to show love to someone today. So, love language number 1 was words of affirmation. Love language number 2 was quality time. Love language number 3 was receiving gifts. Today we start unpacking love language number 4, acts of service. And this is today's takeaway. Acts of service are the things we do knowing that our spouse would appreciate them. When we are in the in-love phase of our relationship, we tend to bend over backwards to do some things for our sweetheart. But when we get married, something happens and we are not so eager to do the things we used to do for each other. This often turns into resentment, which unfortunately is not always expressed verbally, but it is clearly demonstrated by our attitude and actions. My advice is to develop a sharing time where things can be shared honestly and openly, with the goal of wanting to love our spouses. The Bible talks about speaking the truth in love. Love is always given freely. Love cannot be demanded. We can request things of each other, but we must never demand anything. Requests guide direction to love, but demands stop the flow of love. So if your primary love language is acts of service, how can you encourage your spouse to fill your emotional love tank without demanding that he or she do some things for you? I can spend 4 hours shoveling the snow. I can go in and out of the house a half a dozen times to pick up whatever we forgot at the store. But please don't ask me to do any housework of any kind. My wife always tells me how much she loves it when I do housework, again, acts of service. Yet it took me a while to realize that what she was saying is that she feels loved when I do housework or acts of service. For the longest time, I just thought she just wanted me to do housework so she didn't have to do it. Some of us are slow learners or just too lazy. You be the judge. If you are stuck in your relationship around the area of acts of service, do this simple exercise. Make a wish list of what you would love if your spouse did those things for you. The list is important because not all acts of service have the same impact or importance. If my wife wanted me to do the dishes, but I decided to do yard work, it wouldn't have the same impact. You see, the dishes would be done inside the house where she could be close by and maybe have the opportunity for a conversation as well. This will make her feel more connected with me. Now, here are 3 observations to keep in mind. Number 1, what we do for each other before marriage is no indication of what we will do after marriage. Before marriage, we are carried along by the force of the in-love obsession. After marriage, we revert to being the people we were before we fell in love. Our actions are influenced by the model of our parents, our own personality, our perception of love, our emotions, needs, and desires. Number 2, love is a choice and cannot be coerced. We need to learn to ask as opposed to demand. Criticism and demands tend to drive wedges. With enough criticism, you may give in to your spouse's demand. He may do what you want, but most likely it will not be an expression of love. You may give guidance to love by making requests. I wish you would wash the car, change the baby's diaper, mow the grass. But you cannot create the will to love. Each of us must decide daily to love or not to love our spouse. If we choose to love, then expressing it in the way in which our spouse requests will make our love most effective emotionally. There is a third truth which only the mature spouse will be able to hear. My spouse's criticism about my behavior provides me with the clearest clue to her primary love language. People tend to criticize their spouse most loudly in the area where they themselves have the deepest emotional need. Their criticism is an effective way of pleading for love. If we would understand that, it may help us process their criticism in a more productive manner. So maybe we should not take our spouse's criticism personally. Let's try to read between the lines and find out how we could better love our spouse. The ultimate goal is to love our spouse. That's why we married them in the first place. Now let's remember today's takeaway. Acts of service are the things we do knowing that our spouse would appreciate them. So I want you to go out today and do something that you know will be appreciated by your spouse, child, friend, or co-worker. Again, I thank you for joining me for another installment of Take 5 to Recharge, the Love Edition. If this segment has blessed you, please repost it. Together, we are sowing the seed of love. But now, faith, hope, love abide. But the greatest of these is love. Have a lovely day. See you on Wednesday at 12:15, the good Lord willing. Remember, God loves you, and so do I. God bless you.